Chapter 1 of Mary Anerley. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. Mary Anerley by Richard Doddridge Blackmore. Chapter 1. Headstrong and Headlong. Far from any house or hut, in the depth of dreary moorland, a road, unfenced and almost unformed, descends to a rapid river. The crossing is called the Seven Corps Ford, because a large party of farmers, riding homeward from Middleton, banded together, and perhaps well primed through fear of a famous highwayman, came down to this place on a foggy evening, after heavy rainfall. One of the company set before them what the power of the water was, but they laughed at him and spurred into it, and one alone spurred out of it. Whether taken with fright or with too much courage, they laid hold of one another, and 7 out of 8 of them, all large farmers and thoroughly understanding land, came never upon it alive again, and their bodies, being found upon the ridge that cast them up, gave a dismal name to a place that never was merry in the best of weather. However, worse things than this had happened, and the country is not chary of its living, though apt to be scared of its dead. And so the ford came into use again, with a little attempt at improvement. For those farmers being beyond recall, and their families hard to provide for, Richard Jordas of Scargate Hall, the chief owner of the neighbourhood, set a long heavy stone up on either brink, and stretched a strong chain between them, not only to mark out the course of the shallow, whose shelf is askew to the channel, but also that any one being washed away might fetch up, and feel how to save himself. For the Tees is a violent water sometimes, and the safest way to cross it is to go on till you come to a good stone bridge. Now 40 years after that sad destruction of brave but not well guided men, and 30 years after the chain was fixed, that their sons might not go after them, another thing happened at Seven Corps Ford, worse than the drowning of the farmers, or, at any rate, it made more stir, which is of wider spread than sorrow, because of the eminence of the man, and the length and width of his property. Neither could anyone at first believe in so quiet an end to so turbulent a course. Nevertheless, it came to pass, as lightly as if he were a reed or a bubble of the river that belonged to him. It was upon a gentle evening a few days after Michaelmas of 1777. No flood was in the river then, and no fog on the moorland, only the usual course of time, keeping the silent company of stars. The young moon was down, and the hover of the sky, in doubt of various lights, were gone, and the equal spread of obscurity soothed the eyes of any reasonable man. But the man who rode down to the river that night had little love of reason. Headstrong chief of a headlong race, no will must depart a hair's breadth from his, and 50 years of arrogant port had stiffened a neck too stiff at birth. Even now in the dim light his large square form stood out against the sky like a cromlech, and his heavy arms swung like gnarled boughs of oak, for a storm of wrath was moving him. In his youth he had rebelled against his father, and now his own son was a rebel to him. "Good, my boy, good," he said within his grizzled beard, while his eyes shone with fire like the flints beneath his horse. "You have had your way, have you then? But never shall you step upon an acre of your own, and your timber shall be the gallows. Done, my boy, once and for ever." Philip, the squire, the son of Richard, and father of Duncan Jordas, with fierce satisfaction struck the bosom of his heavy Bradford riding-coat, and the crackle of parchment replied to the blow, while with the other hand he drew rein on the brink of the Tees, sliding rapidly. The water was dark with the twinkle of the stars, and wide with the vapour of the valley, but Philip Jordas, in the rage of triumph, laughed and spurred his reflecting horse. "Fool!" he cried, without an oath. No Jordas ever used an oath except in playful moments. "Fool, what fear you? There hangs my respected father's chain. Ah, he was something like a man. Had I ever dared to flout him so, he would have hanged
Sample complete. Ready to continue?